Hello and welcome back to the channel. In this video we will build together a markup of Twitter just by using HTML and CSS. And by the end of this video you will have enough knowledge to build your own markup for different projects which will be scalable and easy to support. So let's jump right into it. So the first thing that we need to do is to write a plan. So first of all, we need to decide what libraries or technologies we will use. I really want to keep it simple. This is why we will use only HTML and CSS completely without any dependencies or libraries. We will also implement the Twitter markup without responsive design. This will be just easier to build and support. So first let's look on the website and what blocks do we have. So as you can see, this is the page of twitter.com. So we have here layout with 3 columns. So on the left we have a sidebar, here on the top is a logo, and here we have a main part with our tweets. Here we have block with what's happening, and on the right we have search, trends for you, who to follow, and then on the bottom we don't have anything, because actually there is no footer. The only thing that we have is this block on the left. So actually, I really recommend to think about writing CSS in some scoped blocks. And we will use for this such technology which is called BAM. If you don't know what is BAM, here I will tell it only shortly. If you want to see my full video on BAM, I will link it here on the top and in the description box below. So the main idea is that BAM is a methodology how you are writing CSS. So this means you don't need any libraries. This is just a way of structuring your code. So let's have a look. This is the official website, getbam.com, and here we need the naming tab. As you can see here, there is a lot of information here, but we're just interested in 3 things. First of all, we have such entity as a block, and this means that we encapsulate some entity inside a block. This means, for example, in our case, this left sidebar is a block. This trends for you block is also a block. Now we have element. This is child elements of the block. For example, left sidebar, and single link inside is the child element of this block, so this is an element. And also we have such thing as modifier, which means if we need to modify state, for example, from inactive to active or highlighted, we need modifiers. And you will see how it all works together and how it helps us during our implementation. So the first step normally is to write a layout. So let's check what we have here. I have an empty folder where I just have index.html. So what do we have? We have here left column, then main part and right column. So now let's create this layout as a single block. So this is how it will look like. So the first will be div with class layout. And layout is the unique name of our block. So actually the idea is that we're splitting the whole application, the whole markup in blocks, and they must be unique, which means we have this word layout and we can't use it ever again. Now, inside layout we need 3 elements. So first of all we need left sidebar, right sidebar and main. So let's write this now. First of all we need here layout. Now we are writing 2 underscores, and here we will have, for example, left sidebar. So the idea is that all elements are belonging to some block, which means we have a layout block and inside we are writing layout elements. This is why all our elements are starting with word layout, because it's just parent. Now we have 2 underscores and the name of the element. And you might ask, what is it about and why do we write in like this? So the main problem of CSS is that all classes are global, which means, for example, we write in one part of our application word post as a class, and we can't use it anymore because we write some CSS for it, and then we use post as a class in other part, and it will just break because all classes are global and we will overwrite something. And BAM solves exactly this problem. The main idea is that all our blocks are unique and global, and all elements inside these blocks are unique just because they have here a namespace of the name of this block. In our case, everything is prefixed with word layout. So here we created first div, and this is our element layout left sidebar. Now we need one element for the main, and we also prefix it with layout, now to underscores, and we can name it, for example, main. And here we have the right div, and here will be class layout, and let's name it right sidebar. Now let's close it and write at least some code inside. For example, left sidebar, main, and right sidebar. In this case, we can check at least that our markup is looking correct. Now, the question is how we will structure our CSS at all. I recommend you to create, for example, CSS folder, and the main idea that we will create here one more folder, which is called blocks. Why is that? Because we want all our blocks to be unique, which means it makes sense that we put every block in single file. And this is why we are jumping just in blocks, and we have here, for example, our first block layout.css, and this means we can't really create the block with the same name, because we will get an error because such file already exists. This means if you have here like 100 blocks, you can't really create the new block with the same name, you will see it immediately. This is why here in CSS blocks we are creating our first block layout, and let's just write some basic markup. So the first thing that we have is class layout. And actually, as you can see here, we have 3 columns. And the easiest way nowadays to make a layout is by using grid in CSS. And if you don't know what is grids, is the idea to make easy columns of specific widths that you need to. So normally, previously we used floats, then we used flex, and now we're using grids. So with grids, we can really write in several lines the whole markup. This is why here I will write display grid. Here we need also grid, template, columns. And here we need to specify the width of our columns. So what we need to check, what is the width of left and right, because actually main can be auto, so it will be auto size. We don't need to specify here width. So let's check this out. What we want to do here is find our sidebar. As you can see, it may be tricky because we have hundreds of elements here, but here I found an element, and as you can see, it is 275 pixels. And now on the right, we also need to inspect our sidebar, and here will be the width. I think it's a little bit more. Yeah, it is 350 width, which means here we can specify now that left sidebar is 275 pixels, then we have auto, and then we have 350 pixels. So what does it mean? This is the width of left column, this is the width of main column, and this is the width of the right column, which means grid understands that we want here 3 columns, because here we put only 3 values. Now we want to center this element, because actually the whole markup should be centered. This is why here we're writing margin 0 auto. And in this case it will be centered. Now let's check how it looks like on our example. So as you can see, we have 3 elements and they are actually not aligned on the center. This is happening because we didn't attach our CSS to HTML file. So we need to go back in our index.html and just put somewhere on the top, for example in head, our CSS file. So for this we're writing link rel, here is style sheet, and here we need href. And our href will be css/blocks, and here we have our layout CSS. Now let's check if it's working. So I'm reloading the page, and as you can see, it mostly worked. So we have here our grid. You can see here on the right this CSS that we wrote. We have left sidebar, no CSS here, then main and right sidebar. As you can see with BAM, it is really nice to check what we have, because in this case we really see, okay, this is our block because it's just the name, and this is child elements because they are prefix with the name of our block. Now let's check what we have in our right sidebar. As you saw here, when we are scrolling our page, our right sidebar is also auto-scrolled, which means here we have position fixed. Let's try to implement this. Actually, let's just check it here. So if here in right sidebar, I'm saying position fixed, as you can see, our element is completely broken. And this happens because this breaks the grid. So what we really want to do to make this right part scrollable, we want just have a parent first, and inside then we have an element which is position fixed. But to check this scrolling, we need more content. This is why here I open the website lorem ipsum, and here we can generate some random text in order to check, for example, scrolling where we need more text. So I just copied here, as you can see, 1000 words, and now I will jump in my index.html and just paste them inside main. In this case, it looks like we have a lot of content inside main, for example, a lot of tweets. So as I already said, we need to create additional element here. This is why I want first on the right to create here not layout right sidebar, but first of all we need something like right sidebar container. And then inside we will have div class layout, and here we have right sidebar. And here is one more important thing. You might think that here we have right sidebar and this is now our block. Not at all, we have one block layout. Of course, we can create more blocks if you want, but in this case it doesn't make any sense. We just want to create several child elements. So here we're creating element right sidebar container, and here is right sidebar. Now let's check if it helps us. So here we have right sidebar container and right sidebar. So the idea is that we are now setting position fixed on our right sidebar, not on the container. And now it works exactly as expected. So as you can see here, we're scrolling the page and our right sidebar is always visible. So once again, we can't really set position fixed on our container, just because it breaks the grid. So what we need to is create child element and set position fixed here. So now we need to write the CSS inside our layout. So here we have our layout, 2 underscores, and the name was right sidebar. And inside now we will write position fixed. And let's just reload the page and check if it's working. As you can see, everything is working. We have a lot of content in main. This is why right sidebar is always there. As you can see, we already finished our basic layout. And actually by using grid, we simplified things a lot. And if you are asking if we can use grid in all browsers, here is caniuse.com, where you can check all support of the browsers. And as you can see here, for example, Edge, Chrome and Firefox and Safari, they all support grid out of the box without any prefixes, so you can safely use it. The next step of our project is to render our brand of the top. So what is brand? This is this logo of the Twitter on the left side of the page. And actually, if we will inspect it here in Twitter, as you can see, this is not an image, this is SVG. And if you don't know what is SVG, this is awesome format to store, for example, icons. Because normally all our icons are quite simple, which means we can represent them with SVG. And I already saved this SVG from here in the file, so I created SVG folder, and here Twitter SVG. And as you can see here, this is exactly this code from Twitter that I stole, and we can use it now. So if you don't want to copy paste it, you can take it from the source. I will link it on the bottom of this video. So the main idea of SVG is that this is simple, so it's not some difficult image. This is just a simple image which is filled with color and with easy borders. For example, some image like here is difficult to do with SVG, but this is easy. And now why SVG is so good? First of all, it is size agnostic. We can easily change the size and our quality will stay the same. We can check this here. As you can see, we have SVG. We can say here, for example, width 500 pixels, height 500 pixels, And as you can see, this is that big now. But we don't lose any quality, we don't see pixels here, because this is not an image. This is why using SVGs for icon is really an awesome way. And also we can apply colors on it, which means here, for example, this normal SVG will be black or white, for example, and we can fill it with color using, for example, filter. So let's do exactly that. So these were the steps. First of all, we need to save an SVG. Either you are doing it in Photoshop by yourself, or you just take it from the website that you are doing. Then after this, we need to go to our index.html. And here on the left, in our left sidebar, we want to render this image. This is why here we're saying image, source, and here we can say svg/Twitter SVG. So as you see, we're rendering SVG files just like normal image. And I want to add here class brand. And if we are talking about BAM, in our case, this is our simple block. So it will be block without any child elements or modifiers. So now we need for this class, for this block, to create new file. So let's jump inside source blocks and create here brand. And just to remind you, we always name the file like our block. In this case, it is easy to support. Now we need to add this file to our index.html. So let's jump back in index.html, and on the top we need to add our style sheet, blocks, and here will be /brand.css. And let's check in browser how it looks like. This is how it's looking like now. As you can see, first of all, it's super big. Secondly, it is black. Both is not a problem for us because this is SVG. And here what we need to do, at least first set some height. This is why here will be our brand block, and let's set here height, I think 28 pixels. If you don't know what height it should be, we can jump here, check this SVG, and check its height. And actually, if we will check the path inside, you can see that here height is 28. Doesn't matter actually, just make something that look good for you. The next question is how we can change the color. And normally people are using filter for this. If you don't know, filter is a really nice way in CSS to change color. So first of all, we need to check where it is working. So we are just pasting here in can I use CSS filter. And as you can see, it works in all major browsers, which means we can safely use this. Now we need to find out what color we need to use. First of all, we can go through all elements and find the element with the color, but here is the problem that the color is in RGBA, and second problem is that there are a lot of elements, it can be time consuming. This is why I highly recommend you to install Color Picker from Chrome. This is what you are seeing now. Now I can just highlight some element and click on it. And as you can see, I can get both hex color or RGB color. So everything that I want. And now we need to convert this hex color to the filter. So for this, I just searched in Google for hex to filter, and this is what I found. As you can see, this is a code pen, so you can even see code here, but we're interested in this part on the bottom. So as you can see here, we can provide target color, and I pasted here the color from Twitter, and now compute filters. As you can see, this is the color and this is our filter. So exactly this we need to paste inside our CSS to get this color, and this is how we change the color of SVGs. So I will just copy it and paste here. As you can see, this is quite a lot, and reload the page. And as you can see, our brand is now blue. So once again, SVGs are not a font, for example, which means if we write here color red, it won't do anything. And even background red, it will be like this. So it's not exactly what we want. And even fill won't help us. So here we can use fill with red. And as you can see, it doesn't do anything, which means filter is the best way to go in order to style SVGs. So now we actually finished to implement our brand, and maybe we need some paddings later, but for now I think it's enough. Our next step will be left sidebar. As you can see on Twitter, this is just a list. We have here SVGs on the left, then some spacing and some text. Also on hover of the element, you can see some border. And also what is interesting, the active element is highlighted in blue, and then we just get a border. And if it's not active, then we're getting both a border and blue color. And actually, just to save some time, I already saved all these 5 SVGs that we need for our left sidebar. So if you want to do it by yourself, you simply need to inspect the element and take SVG from here. And for me, they are already here inside SVG folder. This is Explore, Home, Messages, More, Notifications, and Profile. And of course, our Twitter SVG, which is our brand, which we already implemented. Now, let's start by planning a block for our left sidebar. For this, let's jump in index.html. Here is our left sidebar. So the question is how we can name it. I would say sidebar menu is really nice name because it is clear what it is about and we have only one menu in the project. Now the next point is that we have a list of elements. So these are all elements. This is why I want to name it sidebar menu as a parent -- item. And now we just close this div. What we have inside will be image with source, and here we have our SVGs. So here will be first SVG home, and here we also want class to style it. This is why here is sidebar menu -- icon, or maybe item icon to make it clear. Because actually, if we are making it too generic like icon, maybe later we need more icons inside this element. Probably not, but I would like to make it less generic. This is why here is item icon. So here we're closing our image, and after image we have just some text. So here we can write home, and we will see how we will style it. So actually, let's reload the page. We have here our markup. Of course, it is completely broken. So let's create new block. So first of all, here on the top, I want to create file sidebar menu because this is how our block is called. Now we need to jump in CSS blocks and create here sidebar menu.css where we will write our styles. And I will open our HTML on the left so we can see what we wrote. And this is our sidebar menu, and we can style it now. So first of all, our sidebar menu should be scrollable. As you saw here in the example, we can scroll the whole page and sidebar is always there. And we won't have any problem with position fixed here because this element is not in grid. So actually this layout left sidebar is the element of the grid and this is the child, which means we can simply in CSS write sidebar menu and here we will have position fixed. Now let's check if it's working. So we're loading the page. As you can see, first of all, it's now smaller because here we have position fixed. And now when we're scrolling the page, our element is staying there. Now we need to style our item. As you can see here, we have some fonts, but normally we don't know what fonts we need to. So either we have a Photoshop file or sketch that we can check, or here we need to inspect element to know, for example, the font size of the text. And this is really nice to check this font size, not here, but in Computed, because here you can see directly what font size is here. And as you can see, this is 19 pixels. So this is why I'm jumping to our CSS file and I'm creating here sidebar menu. And here is item, and we know that we need font size 19 pixels. Also, we need to set a correct color. As you can see here, we can take the color, but this is also RGB, so we need to convert it to hex, because I prefer to have always hexes, because it is easier to read. This is why I will use our color picker and just hover on the element and take here our black color. Now let's write inside our CSS color and the color that we copied, and of course with hash. As you can see, our font is bigger and here we also have the correct color. Now the question is, what is the font size of our icon? So first of all, here I want also to create sidebar menu -- icon, and here we will write all styles of our icon. So let's check the height of the icon. Here, we just need to hover on SVG. As you can see, it is 26 pixels. So we can say here height 26 pixels, and actually it should look much better. It's not, because the class is not correct. We wrote the item icon and not just icon. Let's reload it again. As you can see, it is much smaller, but it's not correctly aligned. And to align elements inside small block, I highly recommend you to use flex, because with flex you can really make it fast and efficient. So what we want to do here, I can just write it here. We want for our item to set display flex. And we can also set align items center, and in this case they are directly centered. Now we just need to add a little bit of margin for our icon. So I will copy display flex and align item center and paste it inside our item. And for the icon now we need to add some margin. So let's write here margin right, 20 pixels. And let's check how it looks like. As you can see, this is really similar to what we have here. But you might say, okay, it's a little bit different. This is happening only because my page is zoomed, so we can better see it. And now we need to add more elements so we can check paddings and all this stuff. This is why let's jump in our HTML, and now we can copy this sidebar item and paste it several times. So the second sidebar item, as you can see here, is going to explore. This is why here will be SVG explore, and the text will be also explore. Now let's check if it's working. As you can see, yes, it's working, but SVG is broken. This is happening because here I missed letter P. As you can see now, it is working correctly. So let's add also notification, messages, profile, and more. So I will copy it 4 more times. And now we just need to change it. So the third one was notifications. So here is text notifications. And here the SVG will be notifications SVG. The next one is messages. So let's name it messages. And the SVG will be also messages SVG. Then we have profile. So here profile text. And SVG is also profile SVG. And the last one is more. So let's write here more SVG. And here text is more. Let's check what we have. As you can see, everything is there, but of course colors are wrong. Why? Because we didn't set default color for the active item. And as you can see here, our first element is active. This is why here we have blue and blue text. So this is exactly why in BAM we need modifiers. So what is the idea? As you can see here, we have our elements, child elements, and now we can say that the first element is active. So how we can structure it? So here we have our item, and we can add one more class with minus minus and, for example, active. So actually this active with minus minus, not with underscores, is our modifier, which means by default we have sidebar menu item. But if we need to change its state, we're adding here minus minus something. And this is the state, so in our case the active state. And we can create a lot of states and write different styles inside. And then our elements can be changed, for example, with JavaScript by using other class names. So now let's specify a color for this item active. So I'm jumping in our block sidebar menu, and here we have our sidebar menu item. So here we want to write sidebar menu item minus minus active. And I will paste here the color that I took from the page. And as you can see now, the first element is active. This is why here we have blue color. So now we change the color of the text, but it's not enough because we have here icon, and here we can change color only with filter. This is why I just took this color, I jump in this filter generator, I paste here this color, compute filters, actually this is the same color like in our brand, and I will copy this filter. Now the question is how we can style the icon, and in exactly the same way like we styled this menu item active. So actually, as you can see, we have our icon inside our menu item. So we can say here sidebar menu item -- active, and here we want to style our child element. This is why I can write here sidebar menu item icon. And here we are applying our filter only when our sidebar menu item is active. This is why now we're reloading the page. As you can see, this is blue, but all others are not, because all others have only sidebar menu item and not active. So this is exactly how easy and structured it is to write CSS with BAM. Now let's add a little bit weight to our elements and paddings. This is why I am jumping here in sidebar menu item, and here we can say font weight 700. And actually, if you will check it in the example, this is exactly 700. As you can see, now this is really bold. And also we need some padding. Let's set here padding 10 pixels. Let's reload the page. As you can see, this is really big interval, but this is exactly like in the example. So here we can check it, we can hover on one element and find its paddings. And as you can see, this is exactly padding of 10 pixels. So here, if we scroll computed, somewhere on the bottom, we can see padding 10 pixels. So this is exactly how it was done in Twitter. The last feature that we are missing is hover. And actually what we want to do is just have a border which is rounded. So we can go inside our sidebar menu item and add here a hover state. So we have sidebar menu -- item, and we want here to write hover. This is why :hover. First of all, we need a background, and the main point here that here we can't take just hex, because here we need RGBA. If you don't know what is RGBA, this is RGB with alpha channel, which means our color can have opacity. And this is exactly what we want. So as you can see here, background is really transparent. And actually this is the problem to find this color, because you can't use color picker, because you need to hover on the element. So here we need to add our background, and as you can see, this is RGBA. And this is 0.1, so this is just 10% of the color. The second thing that we need is the color, and actually the color will be the same like inside active, so we can copy it here now. And also we want border, so let's write here border radius, and it will be 20 pixels, and let's check how it looks like now. As you can see, when we reload the page, this looks really similar to the Twitter. But the main problem is that our cursor is not pointer. So let's change it also. Here will be cursor pointer. Let's reload the page. And as you can see, our left sidebar is completely finished. So actually what we implemented here, we have the whole list. We also have inside our items. Here we have SVGs with margin, and on the right we have text. And also we added a hover effect with using RGBA and other color. The next part of the project that we need to do is our list of tweets. So here I am on twitter.com, so let's check what we need to render. As you can see, actually the whole main part is just a list of tweets. It can have different content. For example, sometimes it is just icon, then on the top we have the name of the author, here is the link to the author, the date, then some content, which can be with some image or for example YouTube video, and so on. So for me it looks like we can create a new blog tweet and reuse it here everywhere. So let's try this out. First of all, let's jump back in our index.html, and here we need to go to our main part. As you can see, we have a lot of stuff in our main tag. I will remove everything, we don't need it anymore. So we don't know yet if we need here additional containers. This is why I will just directly write here our first tweet. So here we will have div class tweet. And let's close our div, and now inside we need some content. First of all, we have on the left author's logo, and it is there always. So author's logo is an image, so we can say here that this is a child element, so this is tweet and here author logo. And as you can see, we can of course say logo, but I don't want to make it too generic. This is why it is author's logo. Also, to make it faster and to skip unnecessary steps, I already created folder images and prepared here first of all 3 profile images and 1 image of the post. So let's go back in our index.html. And now here inside author's logo, we can use our first profile image. So here we will have source, and here we can say images / for example profile image 1. And now we need to close our image, and actually it is ready. So we can reload the page and check how it looks like. As you can see, image is there, but it's not styled yet. After image, we need our main part. Why do we need this? As you can see here, we have an image and then we have a right block, which means actually I want to use display flags because it is the easiest way how we can align our elements. And then we have left part here with the image and right part with the content. This is why here I want to create additional class, which will be our content. So here we can name it tweet -- main, for example, because this is the main part of the tweet. Now inside we need different parts. First of all, this is our header, so we want somehow to align items there, and now we have content and probably footer. So let's create here 3 divs. First of all, we need here header, so let's name it tweet header. Let's just close it. And inside we have several elements. So first of all, the name, then the link and the date. So let's create it now. First will be our name. So here is tweet -- author name. As you can see, once again, I am not using here children of the element. So you might think, okay, this is the child of tweet main, so we need to write here tweet main. Not at all, we always have only one level. So we have a block and the child element. And in this case, we can use, for example, tweet and only tweet author name inside, because this nesting is flat. So we don't have deep nesting, which means we can reuse only parts of the block that we need to. Now let's close our author's name. So here is our close div. And now inside we need to write the name. So here will be Becky and Chris. This is just the name of the author. After we need one more div, and as you saw here, it will be a slug. This is why here will be tweet -- and actually slug is too generic. This is why author / slug. We're closing it, and here actually will be a link. This is why we can write, of course, here a href, but for now we can just write here plain text. This is why here will be @ then Becky and Chris. And now after this we want a publish time. So one more div. Here will be tweet -- publish time. And let's close this div. And inside we will just have plain text. For example, 38 minutes ago. Or here we can also have hours or whatever. So our header is ready. As you can see, the whole BAM style is looking everywhere the same. And this is exactly the point. All our markup and CSS is looking the same, and this is small reusable blocks. So we finished our header. Now let's add main part. Let's make it simple for now and just create one div with some text inside. So here is our header. After it, we will have some div with content. So let's create here class tweet -- content. And now inside we can have either plain text or plain text with URL or plain text plus image. So let's write here, for example, thank you. Now let's check what we have. So if we will reload the page, as you can see, all data is there, and actually our DOM elements are looking really good. As you can see, everything is clear. Here is our main, we have here tweet, and we have all this nesting. So we have tweet main, and this is tweet header and content. And we're going to header, and we see all our elements. Now we just need to write CSS for our tweet. And for this I want on the top to create new block, and we can name this block tweet. Now we need to create a new file in CSS blocks. So let's name it tweet styles.css and create basic styles inside. So first of all, we need to create display flags so our main and image are aligned properly. This is why here we're creating tweet, and we know that this should be display flags. Let's check if it's working. Yes, our styles are already binded. This is why it is properly aligned. Now we want to style author's logo. And if we will check here and inspect the element, we can see that its size is 49 pixels. So let's create it now. Here we will have tweet. Let's actually open HTML on the right so we can see our classes. So first of all, we have author's logo. This is why here is tweet -- author logo. And we have here width, which is 49 pixels, and height 49 pixels. And we also need here border radius. And we can say that this is 50% to make it round. And also I think we need margin right because we need some indentation from our content. This is why here we can write margin right, for example, 10 pixels. And let's check how it looks like. Actually, it looks pretty similar. Now let's style our header. So first of all, we need here tweet -- header. And we know that we also need here display flags because we want to align our elements. And actually you might ask why we didn't write align item center inside tweet. And this is because, as you see here, these elements are not aligned on the center. These elements are on the top. But here on the top we for sure need display flags. And now if we will reload the page, everything is aligned correctly. Now let's style element of the header. So first of all we have tweet, and here will be -- author name. Now we have tweet, and here author slug, and the last one is tweet publish time. Now what do we need to write here? First of all, we need author's name, and as always we can just check here what styles do we have, what font size we have inside computed, and what font weight we have. So here we have font size 15 pixels, and here we also need font weight 700, and we need another color. So actually I will just copy the color. I already took all colors and sizes from the website, so we can spend less time on it. Now let's check how it looks like. If I reload the page, you can see that this is now black, the correct font, and now we just need here small margin. So we can write here margin right 5 pixels. And this is looking much better. Now let's write styles for our author slug. So this is the color that we have. And we also need font size. And actually font size will be the same like in author's name. And we always can check it here. If we will inspect the element, you can see in computed font size 15. And if I will check this element, you can see that font size is also 15. So let's check here now if it's working. Here is everything correct. And when we inspect our element, you can see that our styles are applied. Now we just need to style our publish time. So here we have already tweet publish time, and we first of all need margin left, I think also 5 pixels. Let's reload. Yes, it looks good. And now we need a color. So we have here 657786. So let's check. As you can see, it is looking exactly like in the example. So we successfully created our header for the tweet. Now I want to create a bit more tweets so we can see on the real example that we cover all cases. So first of all, here I will close CSS. We have our tweet, so we can just copy paste it. I will copy our tweet completely, and just after it paste it, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 times, so we can see that we have some content. As you can see now, we have 6 tweets, but they are all the same. And it doesn't actually make any sense because we want to check, for example, URLs inside or maybe an image. This is why let's change them a little bit. So first of all, here is our first tweet. I will jump to the bottom, and here let's rename some data. So first of all, here we have not backend Chris, but here we have Elixir digest. And now the slug will be add, and here will be Elixir digest. And for example, publish time is 10 days ago. And now we need some good content. And actually I will copy it because it is quite a lot to type, and I don't think that you want to see me just typing. So this is the content. This is just the text, yet another guide to build JSON API. And the most important for us is that we have a URL inside. And now here is our next tweet, and I want also to change it to other author's name. So here we have Chris Martin, and here we have slug add. Here will be Chris_Martin, and it was published, for example, 15 hours ago. And here I want to paste some content again. So here what we have, as you can see, I have here text, then href, and most importantly image source, and this is the image that I prepared. So here inside images you can find post image 1. So this is exactly the image for the post, so we can style correctly our tweet, so it will work with images. So now let's check how it looks like. As you can see, it looks not the best because the image is too big, but actually our headline is already there. So first of all, let's add some paddings. So I will jump back in our tweet CSS, and here, as you can see in the example, after each tweet we have here a line. And actually it's not that visible because it's really light gray, but it separates our tweets. So this is why here I want to write border bottom, and here will be 1 pixel solid, and this is the color of the line. Let's check. As you can see, now it is separated, but we also need some margin. So let's make margin bottom 2 pixels and padding. And we want different padding from the top and from the right and left. Let's check how it looks like. As you can see, now it looks much better because we have here normal indentation. But actually everything is broken because of this huge image. So my idea would be to add some class to the image when we have an image. So we need to jump back in our index.html, and here we want on the image to add some class. And here we want to have tweet --, for example, image, because this image is directly related to tweet and we can have only one image. Now let's jump back inside our tweet and create tweet --, image. And now the only thing that we need to do is put here width 100%. And when we reload the page, as you can see, our page is not broken anymore, because here this image just takes the full content. But we need to make it a little bit better. Actually, this image should be a little bit rounded and we want a bit of margin. So here I want to write border radius, and here will be 15 pixels, so not a lot. As you can see, now it is a little bit rounded, like in Twitter, and we also need margin top, because normally we have text only on the top. As you can see now, it looks really nice, because everything is separated, and we can clearly read the text and then see the image. One more thing that we can improve is these links. As you can see, all these links are default, and actually all links inside tweet are of another color. So what we can do here is just write tweet A. And actually you might say, okay, we used everywhere BAM and we need our element, so maybe we need to attach to each A tag our child element like underscore, some name, for example, link. And yes, you can do that, but you can also take shortcuts, which means nothing says against writing .tweet and a tag, because actually this is normal. We style all our links inside our block. But of course, you should not overuse default elements. So what we need here, first of all, is color, and this is our color. And we also want text decoration none by default. So let's check if it's working. As you can see now, it's really nice blue, like in Twitter, and we have text decoration none. But this means that we need on hover on our A's to have a text decoration underlines. This is why here a hover and here text decoration underline. Let's check this out. As you can see, now we have a nice hover when we are hovering on our URLs. And the last thing that we are missing in our markup is, of course, hover on the tweet itself. So here in Twitter, when I'm hovering on the element, you can see this light background. And actually this is a black color, but of course RGBA, this is why we have here opacity. So what we can do here, we can for our tweet create hover effect. So here will be our tweet, hover, and here we want to change the background. And our background will be RGBA 0000, actually 3 zeros, and the last one will be 0.03. So it will be really light visible. And actually here background. And also we need here cursor pointer, because in other case this hover won't look that good. So let's reload the page. As you can see, now we have a nice highlight of the hovered element. And actually our basic tweets are already ready. And of course it doesn't look 100% like on Twitter because we are missing the whole footer, maybe some borders, and of course this what happening on the top, but we want to keep it simple to avoid making this video too long. And if you want, you can of course make it more complex in the future. Now it's time to implement our trending block, but here is the small problem that I see. As you can see, all our fonts are default and they are not like here on Twitter, and we can easily fix it by importing our fonts from Twitter. For this, I want to create one global file. What does it mean? Normally we have in CSS just blocks, but it doesn't mean that we can't have some global styles. And normally we can write some styles, for example, for HTML or our body. This is why I want to create here a new style and call it global CSS, and inside paste this part. As you can see, here is our HTML tag, and this is the font family that I took from Twitter website. So you can just copy it or take from source. And now if we reload the page, as you can see, nothing is changed because we need to bind this CSS file inside our index.html. So let's here clone one link and write here CSS/global CSS. And now, as you can see, when we reload the page, all our fonts are looking different. So this is how it was before, and this is how it is after. As you can see, much nicer, and it looks more like Twitter. Now the question is how we will create this Trends for You block that we see on the right. So let's think about it once again. So first of all, we will create a block, which means our block will be Trends for You. And now the interesting part that we can reuse some child elements. So of course we can create something like headline here and then for each block some markup. But the point is that actually we have the same paddings here on the headline and in all our elements. And also, as you can see, we have here bottom line also in the headline and in all blocks. So we can create child element, for example, name it, I don't know, child or block, and then reuse these paddings and border bottom. And of course we need to style each element because actually all these elements are additionally with headline, with text, and with the amount of tweets. So let's do this now. First of all, I want to jump inside our markup, and here on the bottom we have our right sidebar. So now we can remove word right sidebar, and let's create here a new block and call it Trends for You. Now let's close our div, and inside we will have our blocks. And the first block is actually a headline, but for us it will be still block. This is why let's name it Trends for You and -- block. And actually this word block may be a little bit confusing because in the BAM word we're talking about blocks, but we don't have block like a reserved name inside BAM. This is why I think this is fine. So it's a block of Trends for You because actually this part is like a single element. So let's close here our div. This is our Trends for You block. And now is the interesting part. As you can see, this is exactly what I said about BAM. We can reuse different child elements in different circumstances. For example, here in the headline, we are reusing only this title. And actually here we're using other elements like small headline, content, and text. So let's do exactly this now. So for the first block, we need something different. We can create here trends for you. And here we need, for example, heading. So actually heading is this unique part. Now let's close this. And inside we can write trends for you. So this is our first block. Now actually we can copy this trends for you block and paste it here, and this will be our content. So here we have trends for you block. This is fine. We will have here padding and this border bottom, but we also need other elements. So we don't have heading here, but we need first of all this headline, then content, and then footer. So first of all we can say that we have some meta information on the top. So let's name it meta information. And now here we can write, for example, trending in Germany. So this is our first child element. After this we have our content. So let's write here, we have trends for you blog minus minus, and actually here is the trend name. So it's not really content, this is something like title. So let's name it trend name. Let's close this now and write some text inside, which will be actually our content. For example, let's write here iPhone 12. And now the last part will be regarding the amount of tweets. This is what you see on the bottom. So here will be class trends for you minus minus, and here will be actually the same styles like on the top. As you can see, the fonts are the same and the color is the same, which means we can reuse this meta information here inside footer. And actually this is nice that we choose such generic name like meta information. This means that we can reuse it here on the bottom and it actually makes sense. This is why here I will just write, for example, something like this. So we have this amount of tweets. And now let's reload the page and check what we have. So here is our title and here is our first block. Let's directly create some more blocks so we can see how it works. So here I will paste one block again, and here is some markup. And inside we can write, for example, also trending in Germany, and here then hash, and here we have Amazon Prime Day hash. And we have amount of tweets. Actually, let's remove it so we can see how it looks like without this third block. And let's copy once again this div, trends for you block. Let's paste it once again here. Let's write here trending dash trending. And here we have, for example, autos. And here we have, for example, 2,800 tweets. So we successfully added 3 blocks. I think this is enough for testing. Of course, you can add more, like here, but for us, this is fine. Now, let's create our block for trends for you. This is why in CSS blocks, I'm creating a new file and naming it trends for you. As you can see, I'm trying to make names less generic, so actually really about the topic. And now we need to write some CSS. This is why on the right I want to see our HTML that we wrote, so we can see all classes. So first of all, we have trends for you. This is our block. Then we have trends for you. And then minus minus, and the first part was the name, so it was heading. And now actually I will copy paste it. So here we will have trends for you minus minus meta information. And once again we have trends for you minus minus, and it was trend name. And I think this is it. Yes, we have 4 elements. So heading, meta information, and trend name. So I will paste this here and write here minus minus block. So this is all our CSS that we need to use. First of all, here we need now to add new style sheet. So I will just paste once again this link and write here trends4you.css. Now let's jump back in our CSS and style this correctly. And the most interesting part for me is this block, because as I said, we can just add here padding and border bottom, and then it will be almost done. So let's write here border bottom, 1 pixel, solid, and this is the color of the border. And if you don't know, you can always jump to Twitter, check this element and check the color. I just want to spend less time. This is why I already prepared colors for you. And now we want here some padding. So we will have here 10 pixels and 15 pixels padding. So let's check how it looks like. And as you can see, this is exactly what I said. We have padding in our first block and in all other blocks. But actually the first block is the headline. This is why it is really nice to try to reuse some children and not just create new elements every time. The next thing that we need to style is here our border. As you can see, we have round borders here and we have another background. So here is our trends4you. We need here border radius, and here we will have 15 pixels border radius, and we also need background with this color. Let's reload the page. As you can see, we have a nice color exactly like here. But of course it's a little bit small, we need to make it wider. But now the question is actually why it's not wide, because as you can see here, we have our markup, this was our layout, and the right sidebar container takes 350 pixels, because we specified it here inside grid template columns. But the problem is that we have a child component, so this div, and here we have position fixed. And exactly because of this position fixed, we don't have our width anymore. So we can set here width, for example, 100%, and I think it will be fine. And if we want to be on the safe side, then we can say it in pixels. So let's jump back inside our layout, and here we have our position fixed for right sidebar, so we can write here width 350 pixels. Let's reload this page again. As you can see, now we have our full width and we can style our trends4you. The next thing that we need to style is heading. So first of all, here we need bigger size. So here we have 19 pixels. We also need font weight bold, because it really should be bold. And now we need other color. So this will be the color of our headline. So let's check. As you can see, trends4you is looking now exactly like in Twitter. Now let's style our next element, and this is meta information. And as you saw, we're using meta information for both header and footer. So what we need here is font size, it will be 13 pixels. We also need font weight, it will be 300. And here will be our color, which will be this color. Let's check this out. As you can see, now it is much smaller and it is really grayish like in Twitter. And now we just need to style our content, and this is our trend name. So first of all, here we need font size, it will be 15 pixels. We also need other color, it will be this color. And we want font weight bold. As you can see here, we don't have enough padding or margins between this name. This is why here we can write something like margin bottom 5 pixels and margin top 2 pixels. And if you think, okay, I'm writing these all styles such fast and it is looking exactly like in Twitter, this is because I prepared all this in advance. I checked the styles in Twitter, I saw how they are looking like, and this is how I can write them fast. You really can't do this without checking the styles, or if you can't and you have some markup, for example in Photoshop, then you really need to use rulers there and understand what pixel size of margins or paddings you have. Now we actually finished our trends4you block, but as you can see, it doesn't look exactly like in Twitter, because here we have white space on the left and on the right. And actually the problem is that we didn't set the max width inside our layout. If we will say here, for example, that we have max width like 1200 pixels, then we will see this blank space on the left and on the right. So this is exactly what we need to add for our layout to make it looking the same. So here I am adding max width, and now it looks exactly like in Twitter. And if I will zoom it for 100%, it looks exactly like it should. Of course, everything is small because this is my resolution. This is why we can make it bigger. The last block that we will implement together is this block on the right, who to follow. And as you can see, it looks similar to trends to follow, so maybe we could reuse something. But actually you need to reuse things carefully, because it can happen that you will try to reuse something which is not really reusable, and then you will have more problems than solutions. This is why I recommend for who to follow block just to create additional block where we have headline. Here we also have a block like each element. Then here we have border button and padding. Here is our image, headline or maybe slug, and then follow button. So let's implement it now. So here in our HTML we have trends for you block, and directly after we can create new block. And the nice name will be who to follow. Now let's close this div and inside write our first block. So exactly like we did previously, we want for each element create a block child. This is why here will be who to follow -- block. And this is exactly the nice part of BAM. This block that we are writing here is completely unique of the block that we wrote here in Trends for You. So this is our block. Let's close it and check what we have inside. So the first part will be our heading. So we can name it exactly like previously. So here will be who to follow -- heading. And inside we will have text who to follow. This was our first block. Now we also have second block. This will be who to follow, also block. And now let's close it, but inside we will have other markup. As you can see here, we have on the left the image and on the right the whole content. So to position everything correctly, the easiest way is to wrap this right part in additional div. In this case, we can use display flags for the whole element, so we position our content and image, and then we have this content and we're using display flags here to position this part and follow button. So let's do exactly the same. First of all, here we will have our image, and here we can use profile images that we already used before. So here will be our class who to follow -- and it will be author logo. Now let's close this image, and actually we also need source. So here will be our images / profile image 1, and let's close the image. After image we will have our content. So here we have who to follow, and here will be then content. Let's close this content. And inside content we have first of all author's name and author slug. This is what we have on the left. But the point is that if we are using display flags, we need to wrap these two elements together in additional div. And actually maybe we don't need any styles. This is why I will simply write here div. So here we will have inside this div, first of all author's name and then slug. This is why here is who to follow __. Here will be author name. Let's close this and write some name inside. So here, for example, Becky and Chris, what we already wrote in our tweets. And this was our author name. Now we can actually copy this, so we avoid just plain typing. And here we have author slug. And now inside we can put at Becky and Chris. So this is our first part. And as you can see, we are closing this div here. And now on the right of this part, we have this follow button. So let's write here div class, and here will be who to follow __button. And actually, normally you would like to create buttons like buttons. So yes, we can create here a button and not a div, but then we need to write more styles. I highly recommend you to use buttons most of the time, but in this case, actually, we can use div. And the interesting part, I think actually in Twitter, they also didn't use buttons. So as you can see here, they also used divs and not buttons. So it depends. Now we want to close this div and inside write just text follow. And this will be our button. So this is how our markup is planned. Now I want to copy this block several times just to see that we have several elements. So I will copy this. As you can see now we have first user, this is backend Chris, and now let's change the second user. What we want to change here is first of all profile image. So here will be profile image 2. Let's write here now Elixir digest. And here will be then add Elixir digest, and here follow button as previously. And now we have here profile image 3, and here will be author's name Chris Martin, and here will be add Chris Martin. And actually our markup is ready. Let's check if it's working at all. As you can see, it is actually working. We can see our markup, but one image is broken. I think I wrote something not correctly. So here we have profile image 2. Let's check. Images. Okay, the problem is that the second image is actually PNG and not JPEG. This is why it is broken. So let's change this now and reload the page. As you can see now we have nice images and everything is working. We just need now to style it. First of all, we want to bind here a new block. So let's copy our block and name it who to follow. Now let's create this file in our CSS blocks folder. So here will be who to follow.css. And I will open again, like I already did previously, our index.html, so we can check what classes we have. So first of all, we need who to follow. I will then copy it a lot of times because we really have a lot of child elements. So the first one will be who to follow -- block. Then we have who to follow author logo. Then who to follow content. And we also had heading. And I think also author slug. So let's copy this one and write here author slug. And we had one for image. And actually this is author's logo. We have already it. So I think we are done. Author slug and of course the button. So here we need one more. I will copy the last one and paste here. We will have who to follow button. So these are all our classes that we need. Now we just need to write CSS for them. And actually it will be really similar to our previous block. So here we have who to follow, we have background of this color, and this is the same color like it was in previous block. Let's check. As you can see, we have nice colored block. We also want here border radius, and here 15 pixels. And as you can see, we have now nice rounded corners, but of course we also need margin later here. Now we have who to follow block. So here we have padding, 10 pixels and 15 pixels. We also want to display flags. As you saw, we want to position an image on the left. This is why display flags here. And we also want to align all items here on the center. And this is the difference. As you can see here in our tweet, we didn't do align center because we didn't need to. In Twitter, they are not aligned, but here they are aligned. This is why here align items center. And we also want here border bottom. So let's make here border bottom. 1 pixel, solid, and here is our border color. So let's check if it's working. We have image on the left and everything else is on the right, and we also have this border bottom line and also nice paddings as in this top block. Now let's style our author's image. So we have here author's logo, and we know that width will be the same like previously, 49 pixels, and height will be also 49 pixels. And we want here rounded images, so border radius 50 pixels. And we also need margin right to make a nice margin. So let's check. As you can see, we have nice small images and margin. So everything is styled correctly. And actually, now I see one small problem. As you can see here, our border bottom is also in the last element. This is why it doesn't look nice. And we did the same problem in Trends for You. So this means that actually this who to follow block always has border bottom. But actually our last child should not have this border bottom. And we can fix this if we write something like this. So we have who to follow block, and we want to apply styles to last child. This means that the last element of these all elements won't have this border. So we want here to set border bottom to none. And when we reload the page, as you can see, this border here is gone. And actually we must open our Trends for You because we did exactly the same problem. Here we didn't write this code. So here we have block with border bottom, and we want here to write Trends for You block, and here last child will have border bottom none. And now this line here will also be gone. As you can see, there is no line here now. Now let's style our headline. So here is our headline, actually heading, and we want here first of all font size 19 pixels, then make it bold, so font weight bold, and here is our color. So here we will have 14, 17, 1A. Let's check if it's working. Who to follow is looking nice. And actually we might reuse the same colors for our headings. So actually in BAM we can, for example, create block heading and just write all the CSS inside and then use this heading as an additional block. It is completely possible and it's up to you. The next thing that we need to style is our content here. And as I said, we can write here display flags and everything will actually work out of the box. As you can see, we correctly aligned our elements, and now we just need to move this follow button to the right. And this is easy to do with display flags. We can simply write here justify content, and here will be space between. In this case, both elements will go to the left and to the right. As you can see, it didn't work because we need to set here width 100%. So let's try this width 100%, and let's reload this now. As you can see, now all fine because this element now takes 100%, and before without this width property it won't. So actually we need to make it smaller to see. As you can see, now our content was not big enough, so width 100% is important here. Now let's style our author's name. So here we have our author's name. Actually we forgot to create it. So here we have author slug, but no author's name. So I will copy paste it here and name author's name. So inside, first of all, we want font size, and here font size will be 15 pixels, and also our font weight will be 700. So let's check. It looks nice now. Now we want to style our author slug. So here we need to change our color. It will be 6577. We already used this color. And now we want font size also 15 pixels. So let's check. As you can see, it is smaller and now grayish. So the only thing that is left is to style this follow button. So actually we have here our follow button, so we can write some styles. First of all, here we want border, 1 pixels solid, and here will be this color. Let's check. We have nice border. Of course, it is looking ugly. The second, we need color of the text. Here it is. Let's check how it looks like. This is nice blue color now. The next thing is to set font size. We want here font size 15 pixels and we want font weight 700. We also need here border radius, and actually it will be exactly like in the block, so 15 pixels. And the last one is of course padding, so we have a nice big button. And we also, I think, need min width here because our follow text is really small and we want to make this button longer. This is why here we can say minimum width 67 pixels. So let's check. As you can see, it is really nice now and it is big enough, but follow is not centered. So for this we need text align center. As you can see now, it is properly set in the center, and it looks exactly like here button. But of course we also want to have here hover. So this is why here, after our follow button, we can create our hover effect. So here will be who to follow button, and here we're making our hover. So what we want to do, we want to change a background and also give it opacity. This is why here we can write background and use this RGBA color. As you can see, we are not using here hex but RGBA instead because we want to set opacity to 0.1. And we also need cursor pointer to say that this is actually looking like a button. So now, as you can see, we have hover effect and our cursor pointer is also there. Now I zoomed both pages of the Twitter and our markup to the same level, so as you can see they are really similar, and all blocks are looking the same. The only problem is here now that we don't have any margin between these two blocks. This is why it doesn't look good. What we can do is set margin for Trends for You block. So for this, let's jump in Trends for You, and here in the root, just write margin bottom. I think 15 pixels will be enough. Now, as you can see, our margin is there and it looks much better. And also here I see a small glitch that our Twitter icon is a little bit to the left, and this is happening because we have padding inside the sidebar. So if we will check here, we don't have any styles for our brand, but here we have sidebar menu and inside every item has padding 10 pixels. And this is exactly the problem. So actually to fix this we can add a padding for our brand. So if we will write here padding 10 pixels, so from all sides, as you can see it is looking much better. So let's do this now, let's jump inside brand and write here padding 10 pixels. Let's reload our page now, and as you can see it looks much better. We successfully finished to implement our basic Twitter markup. And we did quite a lot of components and it looks really similar. But of course we didn't implement the whole Twitter. And actually I recommend you to do it like your homework. So as you can see we didn't implement what's happening block here on the top, search of Twitter, tweet on the left, here information regarding current user and much more. If you want to show this project like your own, for example on interview, sure you can do it, but first of all you need to improve it, because you really need to make changes on your own so you can prove that you really did this project. Also, I think you saw how important it is to write CSS with some architecture. So we are not just writing classes, we are trying to organize them in some small blocks and build the project with these blocks. And it doesn't mean that BAM is your single solution for all problems, but it really gives you a nice possibility without any additional libraries or technologies to write global CSS without any problems. And actually, if you want to improve your programming skills, I have a lot of advanced courses regarding different web technologies. And I will link them down in the description box below, so don't forget to check them out. Also, if you like this video and you want to see more content like this, don't forget to put thumbs up to support me and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you in my next video.